What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and this is One Life. I rented this off the iTunes store because it's Bleecker Street, and Bleecker Street is not very good about when they do have audio description about making sure it travels. Like Freud's Last Session traveled to Netflix, does not have audio description. It also didn't have audio description on iTunes, so it's just like trying to randomly hit Bleecker Street when they have audio description is like once in a million. It's the audio description is actually done by Deluxe, so which I thought was pretty amazing. But anyway, we'll talk about it. But click that subscribe button because I would like to grow as a channel. Anyway, One Life is based on the true story of Nicky, played by Anthony Hopkins, who, Nicholas, who was a young man during the onset of World War II, young British man who had, who was sitting by, sort of on the sidelines, watching this stuff happen and said, what can I do? How can I help? And one of the things that he noticed was that as Germany was set to invade Czechoslovakia, all of the refugees there, and he just kind of goes into Prague. He goes into Prague when everybody else is trying to get out of Prague and figures out how to try to help as many people survive, specifically children, and comes up with like a system of how to remember these names, and he has these records and everything, with, I guess, with the hopes of reuniting them one day, thinking at the time that the war will end soon and we'll be able to bring these kids back to their families, or maybe they'll still have families, maybe something. Of course, World War II did not work out that way, and these kids ended up without families, and he's lived with the guilt of feeling like he didn't do enough, that he could have done more. Very like Hacksaw Ridge. I remember I was thinking about, like, I heard in my head the whole time, Andrew Garfield, the whole time he was saying, like, just one more, like, his whole thing. I just wanted to say, just one more life. It feels like that too. Like, it feels like this is kind of that same vibe, where it's like, if he had just, that he lives, even though he helped so many, that he didn't help enough, that because the numbers are so high the other direction in the amount of that were killed, that it seems like he didn't help enough. But what's really powerful about the film is the stuff that they do at the end. It's very emotionally manipulative. I have to admit, this movie actually made me cry. Actually, it tore me up, because it is actually really emotionally manipulative. And I'll give it cry points. I'm going to give it cry points at the end of this. So its score is going to be a little bit higher because, you moved me. It worked. But it is one of those emotionally manipulative movies where, yeah, it got me, but I could see it coming. It's funny how much World War II stuff I'm watching sort of around the same time, about the same time, coming out of Zone of Interest, and then We Were the Lucky Ones, and The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and now I'm watching One Life, and I just feel like I'm watching a lot of World War II stuff, a lot of stuff about concentration camps and death, and amidst the, the stuff going on in real life, it's just very, very dark sometimes. But this film does time split, which is one of the tougher things about the film. The film is not without its faults. One of the things that kind of struck me as odd at the beginning was Anthony Hopkins is with someone. I don't know at the beginning. At the beginning, I was so frustrated. I was like, is this a sister? Is this a wife? Is this a daughter? Is this like, what is this to Anthony Hopkins? Who is this woman to Anthony Hopkins? Because the film did not really do a solid job of answering it right away. And of course, the audio description isn't just going to like drop it and say, you know, he looks at his wife. I wouldn't be that lucky, you know, or anything like that. So it took me the whole film. It was being driven insane. I was like, who is this person and why are they here? Because he does have somebody who sort of is with him throughout um, most of the film. Yeah, the film is not just Anthony Hopkins. It does also have Lena Olin, Helena Bonham Carter, Jonathan Pryce. There's an actor that plays him when he's younger. I'm just not familiar with the actor. It's so hard to like be like, oh yeah, the guy who plays Anthony Hopkins when he's younger gives a great. It's really Anthony Hopkins. And the funny thing is that Anthony Hopkins' performance is mostly just like him staring off into space and being really emotional, which is hard for us as a blind audience to really like pull in on that. But the audio description is done so well that like every time he like cries or like it's really good about describing his facial expressions. So as he's like pondering life or looking out, or he has a small smile and remembers something positively about his life. It's a very subdued performance from Hopkins. I liked it far more than his performance in Freud's Last Session. Um, it's just a nice performance. It's a nice film that just kind of comes together. What they do at the end is incredibly emotionally manipulative, and especially when you get to the and because I have to stay to the end to find out who did the narration, you know. And there's some stuff at the end where they talk about, you know, how many refugees we currently have. They add a whole bunch of things right at the end of the credits. You know, like 180 million people are currently refugees without a country or whatever in living in the world, and statistics like that, and how you can help if the film has moved you to help. And it talks about the people that he's helped along the way and how many people are alive today because of the people that he saved back in World War II. Because obviously, like, he saves a certain amount of people, and then those people have family members, and those family members wouldn't exist. You know, the generations down the line wouldn't exist without him having saved originally those kids. So they ended up using and bringing in some of those people as extras. And so it's like a 1-2 punch. It's like they had already sort of gotten me with their ending. And then at the ending, when you realize that a lot of those people were real people, it's just sort of like, damn, they even wanted to show up for the fake film, you know? They weren't even honoring the real person here. They were honoring him through story, through memory, but it meant so much to them that they showed up for this. So, yeah, it's very much a white savior movie, but, it's the kind that you can't really argue with, in a certain way, because it's like, I don't know. I feel like if this is the story, this is just the story. It's just what it is. It's just a guy, and he went his whole life where he wasn't trying to be recognized, and then somebody just kind of figured out what it was that he did, and because he had been living his whole life with this like guilt and shame over the fact that he didn't save enough, that he could have saved more people, and then people were like, "Man, you saved a lot of people based on, you know." I don't think you realize that how the numbers of what you saved. And he's like, yeah, but, you know, they killed this many, which is more than what I saved. And it's like, okay, so yes, they were worse, but that's still a large number of people that you saved. And you know, to try to share that story, because it's a lot of people. Like, I don't think Harriet Tubman got that many people through the Underground Railroad as that he got out of Prague. So it's a lot of people. I'm trying not to give numbers because I want you to be impacted by this story. I don't know how well you know the story. It's based on a true story, so it's possible you already know everything about this guy. But It's really hard to talk about it and also be vague and be like, it's really impactful, but I can't really tell you how impactful it is. Um, it's odd. I it's not a perfect film. The pacing is a little bit to where, honestly, even though I know that when they're cutting to the past, they're building that story and they're showing me the World War II stuff, which is always really impactful because it's like it's World War II, and it's like how many times have we seen World War II? I'm seeing it all the time now. It's like I'm literally watching like two limited series at the same time as a show that are both World War II dramas. So it's like it can't just be, you can't just be a World War II drama anymore about about concentration camps. You have to bring something to your story because there's like an onslaught of material about that. So it can't just be the default of you automatically get critical praise simply for being about this subject matter. Um, so I didn't think the flashback parts were as strong as Anthony Hopkins' parts. However, we did need some of it to give context, but I didn't need the balance to be in its favor at all. I think the balance still leans in a way where you would call Anthony Hopkins lead actor instead of supporting. I think he still has more screen time than the younger half of him, but I would have preferred even less time spent in the past, maybe just a shorter runtime, and less flashbacks spent. So, because, like I said, it's just we've people who watch films and television series have seen all these shows before, and some of this stuff is just really hard to beat. Zone of Interest obviously kind of set a new standard for, yeah, it's possible to make a new World War II thing and do something completely different and really impactful in a new way. But we've seen so many like films that are featured on so many different topics, whether you're focusing on a concentration camp or you're focusing on the horrors of war, that it's hard to distinguish yourself now. The product is so proliferated in terms of material. So yeah, I think what was special about it was hearing the story and seeing the impact at the end. But I know that we had to get there by showing a little bit of the flashback scenes. So it all comes together. And I definitely appreciate the audio description here because, like I said, a lot of it is Anthony Hopkins being very quiet and crying, and the audio description needing to give those facial expressions about him and having his emotional reactions to things. So as he sits and ponders what he could have done differently. So it's an interesting film. If you get a chance to watch it, check it out. I really think it's probably like a B+ film, but like I said, it gets cry points because it made me cry. So I'm gonna give One Life an A-. I don't cry a lot, so it gets the bonus points for emotionally manipulating me enough to cry. I can't remember what the last one was that I cried in. Anyway, it's rare, few and far between, but it is possible. Usually it's emotionally manipulative films. Marley and Me, that film. I know it's not a great film, but damn, that ending, it's like, I didn't want to watch that dog. No, nobody wants to watch that. Anyway, yeah, it's some films you're being emotionally manipulated, but it can still get you, even when you're like, I know you're emotionally manipulating me, but damn it, damn you. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I hope you enjoy the film. So I'll see you guys on the other side.